An explosion and fire at a power plant in central Queensland has sent the state's electricity network into crisis. Hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses from the far north into northern New South Wales were left without supply. The Callide Power Station's catastrophic failure also tripped other big generators and transmission lines, meaning there wasn't enough power to the state. Shortly we'll go live to our reporters in Billawheeler and Brisbane, but first we take a look at what triggered the sudden loss. Lily Nothling reports.
One of Queensland's biggest power providers at the centre of a major statewide blackout. Fire broke out in a turbine hall at the Callide Power Station near Billawheeler just before 2 o'clock this afternoon.
All workers were evacuated and I am advised that there are no injuries.
Police set up a 550-metre exclusion zone. The blaze caused 3 generators to trip, triggering widespread disruptions.
The sudden loss of 2,000 megawatts of generated electricity has caused outages across the state.
375,000 customers lost power in southeast Queensland alone. Police were called in amid the risk of traffic chaos.
Emergency events like these are matters we take very seriously, and we're working with the market operator to determine the impact and the cause.
The Gold Coast University Hospital blacked out. Emergency generators were activated in critical areas. Brisbane's International Airport was briefly impacted. Universities were plunged into darkness. Shoppers were locked out, with businesses forced to shut, all during the afternoon trade.
Doing our usual prep work, and then all of a sudden the power went out and we got, 4 bags of onions sitting on the stove and pots.
The lights came back on in most areas this afternoon, in time for peak hour and the dinner rush.
It's taken us probably about 45 minutes to an hour to get everything back on, so we were down for about 3 hours in the end.
The investigation into what sparked the blaze will last much longer. Lily Nothling, ABC News.
Let's go live now to Tobias Jers-Lewis in Billawheeler. Now, Tobias, this must have rocked the small community this afternoon. What more can you tell us right now?
Lexi, here in Billawheeler, I'm just kilometres away from where that blaze happened this afternoon and where workers from the Callide station were evacuated today. Now, I'm hearing from people on the ground that the cause of the fire was an explosion in one of the generators, and the CFMMEU, they've gone on record and they've told us that their early indications suggest that the cause of the explosion was a catastrophic failure in one of the hydrogen-filled generators at the station. Now, they've said that is probably the worst case scenario at a coal-fired power station. Thankfully, in this instance, all workers and people at the Callide station were accounted for and no one was injured. The CFMMEU, they say now that their concern is for the 350 jobs, those direct and indirect jobs for the people who work at the station, especially now that the station still remains online. Now, it's unknown just what the extent of the damage from the explosion is. What we do know is the station remains cordoned off tonight. If you listen closely here in Billawheeler, you can still hear sirens faintly in the distance. We've had an update recently from firefighters who say they're still working to get to Generator 4, where that initial fire or explosion took place. And they say that investigations and firefighting operations are expected to be a prolonged event.
All right, thanks, Tobias. Lily Nothling is here for us now in South Brisbane. Now, Lily, the lights are on in the city there. We can see them, but what are we being told about restricting power tonight?
That's right, Lexi. Well, the regulator is urging people to turn off appliances and avoid using things like heaters and air conditioners, those big power guzzling devices, until at least 9 o'clock tonight. They don't have enough energy in reserves at this stage to ensure there won't be brownouts or further shutdowns. So they're asking people to reduce their energy consumption as much as possible where safe to do so. If they need to, they will shut off power to protect the network. The state government says essential services like hospitals, airports, ports and public transport will remain online, but they are asking people to stay at home and avoid going out on the roads in case we see more of those traffic lights blacked out like we did earlier today. However, it's hoped the risk of further disruption to the network will be resolved later tonight. Lexi?
Let's hope so. Thanks, Lily.